Hello all. Here we are, the big day. New World's announcement. What's it gonna be? I think yesterday I predicted it was going to be the console release, which is like was the most likely. And the PvP island. I didn't expect a raid, but it sounds like there is gonna be one. So I'm gonna go through their newest video and pick it apart as I did yesterday. And just it's kind of funny because they're talking about this game as if like no one's ever heard of it before, when there was 1 million people that purchased it day one for PC, and here we are. Obviously they're talking to console now, they're hoping people get it, but you know what, I gotta bring this up. So they said you can pre-order and you can get it. I think it's October 15th when it releases. So I was like, wait a second, they're not going like free to play on Xbox. So I want to say, where is the damn? Go to the Xbox store. I looked this up already. I know it costs $60 for the regular edition, and then it costs for the deluxe. I think it's 70 or 80. But let's see exactly what options we have here. New World Eternum. Yep, here we go. So pre-order for $60, and then for $80. What do we get for the deluxe edition? What does this have? Oh, it's locked by my date of birth. Okay, well, let's try. I don't know. Throw anything in there. Doesn't really matter. Okay, just pictures. That's great. So in this bundle, you get the wolf. Cool. Bear. Cool. Is there a bear already in the game? They have a lion, a wolf, and a horse. No, there's no bear yet. Maybe this is something new they added recently, and they're just reusing the model and adding on armor and stuff. Corrupted soul armor, kind of cool. But is it worth another $20? I don't know, probably not. But anyway, so it's going to cost you. If you're playing on console, don't look for any discounts. Don't expect any discounts. It's going to be $60 to $80. Ridiculous, just ridiculous. They should have came in at 40 or I don't know, 30 and then 50 for the deluxe edition. That would have been fair. You know, people have known this has been around for a long time. So, I mean, I think it's been 3 years now. Man, time flies. So, anyway, let's get back to the video. I'm going to skip this. It's just the intro cutscene. And I will say, you know, their cutscene is very good. It does a pretty good job of highlighting the world itself. But it's not the meat of what I want to talk about. It's what these people are saying, and how they pretty much are spinning this as if this game never existed, and it's just coming out right now because they're gonna
have access.
They talk through it as if this is the first time anyone's ever heard of it.
To all of this as well. So I'm here with Dave and Katie, and we're going to bring out the rest of the team in a little bit, and we're going to tell you about all the things coming in this, starting with storytelling. We're going to tell you the story of Eternum, because it's kind of this crazy, like, lost island. And we're going to tell it through enhanced dialogue system, IGCs, pre-rendered cutscenes.
You know, that will be good. There is a story, as one would suspect, with this game. But it's like these blue papers that are scattered throughout the world. I don't even think they're marked on the maps. They're pretty much just in points of interest, so like at a farmstead or in buildings, whatever, you know, they're pretty easy to find, but it basically it stunts the gameplay and makes you stop and go click them, or whatever the button is, E probably, to look at it, and then you have to read it. So it kind of reminds me of Fallout 76, where you had to stop your gameplay. So if you're playing in a group, it's like, oh, hold up, everyone stop, I found a note, shut up, I'm listening, or I'm reading. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous the way, you know, I think games really need to evolve. And I mean, we have AI nowadays. Just have an AI voice read the quest to me so I can pick it up and then, you know, choose which one I want to hear and have it just read it to me, what's going on. Rather than sit there like, and, you know, WoW's been doing this for years, where you click on somebody and like they might say something generic, but the quest doesn't, you know, the quest text says nothing as to pertaining to what the person just said. It's just, you know, go kill bandits in this area or something. But in some places there are stories that are good, like Redfall and Red Ridge Mountains. Sorry, Redfall. Red Ridge Mountains in WoW had a pretty good quest line for the Alliance side going through it. It's one of the most memorable zones, I'd say. So whoever did that did a very good job in translating it from their ideas to the game. And I wish more zones could be like that. But once again, it's not like voice acted out entirely. It's just the text that you have to read, and you have to do it for every quest, and it gets old. Most people, myself included, you go up to a quest giver, you just click. You click as fast as you can to go through as quick as possible. And I did the same thing in Final Fantasy 14, and I know the lore people over there hate me for doing that, but the story was so boring, I couldn't stay with it. But anyway, back to these guys. They're talking about better systems. Sure.
And then we're going to do other things, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to talk about navigating throughout the world, like this third-person, open roaming, mantling, jumping. What's great is it's like an open world you can explore. We're going to talk about the combat. It's action-based combat where, distances, ranges.
So this is like as if they're talking to somebody that's never heard of the game before. So it's going to be very few people, I'd imagine. As with the jumping and the clambering, the clamber needs to be better, first off. And then the jumping, I would say twice as much as what it is now. Later on, I have watched this before, so, spoilers. But they do say that you have more control in the air with your jump now, and that's good. I think I like that, especially for the jumping puzzles. I think that's warranted, because you're pretty much before that, or before this update, I guess, and up to current. It's you jump in a direction, and you're locked in. You can't go left, right, up, down, whatever, you can't gainer. It's not going to happen, so... that is good, but I think the jump needs to be twice the height that it is now.
Aiming, all that stuff matters. It's a very kinetic feeling combat.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll also talk about the soul trials, which after you've done your solo experience, or, group experience if you like, but this is really geared towards the solo player. So once you've solo experience...
So this is something that I've seen with a lot of devs and MMOs, and obviously you have to have a solo option, I would say, but you should also be looking for an option for people that want to group up, or kind of not forcing them, but really pushing players from low levels even to group up to do content, so you start to get that community feeling and that camaraderie. It's something we've been lacking in MMOs, and that's why myself and many others have moved from MMO to MMO, because you're looking for that one where it just clicks. And even, WoW back in the vanilla days kind of was like that, but it was still really solo too, because I think the main thing back then, it was the experience of going from 1 to 60 was the journey. That was the meat of the game, really, for most people. But most MMOs, or most games even that have RPG systems, they don't open up until the end game. And then when you get there, the game starts now. And I think that's a huge problem that needs to be solved. I would say for New World, for example, I gave many opinions on this on the forums and the Discord. What you could do is make so... If I had people ask me this too, I was a level 70, I think it was the cap in the Elysian Wilds expansion, or whatever it was called, Rise of the Angry Earth. And people that were new joining the game would ask, hey, I want to get into war. And I'd say, good luck. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being honest. And I tell them, I was like, look, I'm being honest. You will not ever get a slot in war until you hit max level, first off. And then second, you better have BIS, which means best in slot for your gear. Because people will inspect you, or at least have you link it, because I don't think there is an inspector in the game still. And they're going to see it and go, nope, not coming. Or it used to be, I think it still kind of is to a degree, but they did change it quite a bit. So when the game first started, you could have, it was like a mercenary system. You could have 50, it was 50 on 50, and you could have people from any faction, which I thought was the stupidest thing. So if green's defending, right, or marauders, and then the purple Illuminatis are attacking, well, they could have all the best players from green on the purple team. Like, how stupid is that? Like, how did they not think about this before they implemented it? I don't understand. But it was a huge flaw, and I think they made it more guild-based now, where whatever guild has to put up like 30 people or something. I don't even know if mercenaries can still go in there. I always thought it was a stupid system and they were stupid for implementing it. But yes, you need group content. That is the main thing, guys. I mean, we need to stop with the solo mentality. So let's go back to my example with the guy that was asking to PvP, because he's like, if I remember right, he's in his 20s. So I told him, look, you can't do it till you're 70 with capped. And people in chat would disagree and say, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. That's 100% how it works, period. There's no debating it whatsoever. It's not about being nice or mean. If you're nice, yeah, we'll bring you next time, then you lose your war. It was at level 20 that lost it. It's just going to come back on you. It's pointless to even broach the subject. So I would say what should be done is it's a scaling, whereas level doesn't matter. Gear doesn't matter. Because even if we're the same level, my gear, let's say for example, I was level 70 and I was running through some area in my PvP gear, and this dude, he's almost cap level 69, or is it 59? I don't know, whatever the cap level is. He's one level below me, and he goes up and hits the duel button. He wants to duel him, okay? And I told him, like, hey, yeah, I'll duel you, man, but you're gonna get ripped here, and you're gonna see, and I'm going to showcase how bad of a difference it is between someone ungeared, one level away, to somebody that's geared with one level above. And he literally did not scratch. He scratched me. He maybe did 5% damage to me, but I also had a semi-leech build too. So like he even said after the fight, like, wow, I can't believe that I didn't do any damage. Like, yeah, that's the problem with this game. I have like almost close to BIS PvP gear, and I'm cap level, which obviously means something, but it's a huge problem. So if you want a PvP and you want a flag as a lobby, you're gonna get ripped. Period. It doesn't. If somebody's the cap level and they got some gear, you're done, son. There's no way around it. It's just sad, because basically what they're saying is you cannot play this game in any mode but PvE solo until you get to the cap level. That needs to change.
Through max level, you get to do this repeatable endgame content, which is super fun. We're going to dig into that. And then speaking of endgame, there's a big, broad endgame out there. So we're going to dig into the pieces of that, and I'm super excited for that section.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about just...
I hope they get to it. Broad endgame. From what I can tell, and anyway, we'll let them explain that, because I think there's not much there.
Katie mentioned it's a solo or a multiplayer game, and because of that, we have a lot of effort on performance, making it performant for as many players as can get together or as few, and then a huge effort into just the overall quality of the game. So when you get it,
they do have shard technology. I almost said sharding technology. That would have sounded bad. They have shard technology, which I think Warcraft's had for, I don't know, 5-10 years now. But basically what it means is if there's not enough people or there's too many people, they can shard them out to a different shard on a server or another server. I don't know how the technology works. And you'll see either more or less people based on where you're at. Right now, it's obviously going to have to be in favor of more, because there's nobody around, period. Which is great if you want to just farm stuff and not be hindered, because in New World, everything is not instanced. So let's say in Warcraft or something, if me and another person get to the same node at the same time, we can both mine it now. It didn't used to be like that. Forget when they changed it, but when you get there, you can both mine, which is good. I think that's good. Now, if we were both PvP flagged, I think that the node should go away for both of us. And, well, maybe for everyone in the world, which kind of forces other people, hey, this guy that's playing, he's flagged and he's taking all the nodes. I'm going to flag and I'm going to fight him and we're going to take him out, and then I'm going to get all the nodes. And you see what I'm saying? You're kind of forcing that, or pushing, or incentivizing. And that's the key word, ladies and gentlemen. Incentivize. That's how you get people to do things in games, or in life for that matter. Incentivize them. Why do they want to do it? Why should they do this thing?
Experience feels good. Now we're going to wrap it up by getting a bunch of the team members together, and we're going to talk about what's coming next. So why don't you just sit back, enjoy the ride, and have some fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob, and this is Nathan and Charles, here to talk about storytelling and really what is the world of Eternum from a narrative perspective.
Okay, I don't care about this part. If you do, great. You can watch it for yourself. I think storytelling in this game is horrible. I hope it gets better. I hope they are adding more dialogue, but I'm not expecting much. And what are these? These guys have an obsession with the all-seeing eye. I'm telling you. This must be the it's got purple. It's probably the Illuminati faction, the all-seeing eye faction. I forget what they're called. I always hated that faction. But anyway, they have archetypes now. That's cool. So you get to choose kind of what you want when you load in. But I mean, in the first zone, they basically gave you every weapon anyway, and that when you first start off. So I don't know why this is. Maybe they're trying to streamline it, kind of like start with a boost to jewel crafting, mining, and stone cutting. What kind of boost? What are you talking about? Who knows what that means? It's kind of weird because you're gonna do everything. At some point, you're gonna be capped on everything. So you can do all like let's take a AOC for example, Ashes of Creation. So Steven Sheriff's talked about this and his team as well, where their trade system is going to be cool. Like you can do every trade. However, you can only be a grandmaster in 2 of them. So let's think of something like World of Warcraft, where you can only choose 2 out of 7 professions or something. And then you'd have to have alts for the other ones, or drop what you have for another. It's a horrible design. But AOC is doing it correctly. You get to do everything, but if, let's say you're not a leather worker or something, and, Joe, your buddy Joe's a leather worker, and he's a grandmaster, and you're not. You go, hey, Joe, I need this thing. Hey, I'll trade you this thing, or I'll do this work from me, or, on my side, and maybe I'm a master or a grandmaster jewel crafter, and then you do the leather thing for me. Now you have player interaction. In New World, you very rarely, I don't think you ever see someone in trade chat, saying, looking for work, leather worker or furnisher or anything, because everyone's just out in the world doing it for themselves with this solo mentality. Like when you should be, your end game should be grouping people up. Once again, going back to that. And it's this horrible design from New World's perspective. And I just realized they have that all-seeing eye on 3 things. They have it on this, they have it on the Arcanum, and they have it on the faction Syndicate. That's their name.
A bit of an open slate.
Anyway, we're going to pass this. I wanted to see them talk about...
Grace O'Malley, in fact, one of your early friends, is a Irish pirate of some renown.
So he's talking about what I talked about in the last video, how they basically are they're lazy and they're pulling in influences from the real world or mythology into the game and not being creative about it. Like, you look at a Final Fantasy or a Warcraft or Guild Wars, it's all creative. None of that stuff, so it's probably affected or thought up because of some real world stuff. But in this one, it's like literally just, we got Medusa, we got King Arthur's in there. Yeah, you guys like Arthur, right? We got Galahad, who has maybe 2 quests or something. I mean, these characters are underused. They just sit in the same place in town all day long. They don't do anything. Nothing ever goes on in the world. There's no NPC. Like, even if an NPC is out in the world, it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. Or maybe once in a while they'll fall. Like Grace O'Malley, I think she follows you around. But once in a while, but you don't run into anything organically like that. And Grace would be part of a quest chain, right? Whereas I'm talking about you run around the world, maybe you're playing in Dragon's Dogma 2, you're running around and it's really basic, but it's some dude standing there, hey dude, I need someone to escort me over to Bakbatal or something like that. They need stuff like that, organic things that feel like, I discovered something and only I discovered it. That's cool. And then you just randomize a spawn location or something. There's things that could be done that make your world feel alive, and they're not doing it. This is all free tips, Amazon. Take notes. I mean, this stuff is I've seen it in many other games, and this is where I'm getting it, right? I'm not the visionary here. But they just drop the ball at every corner.
And each of these characters really gets a lot of attention. We've really worked hard on making these characters both fun and interesting, and then also realize
multiple mediums. I think with our cinematics and cutscenes, we've got storybook, illustrative, animation
from the ground up for Eternum.
And that meant redoing all the animations. And the way the game controls is it's very much like other action RPGs that you've played. So you can run around in all directions, regardless of camera. It's not locked behind you. And the game features a lot of verticality, a lot of like ledges and things. So we also have there's like a traversal system. So we have like mantling, we have like vaulting over objects, and that was just helps with like the smoothness of moving throughout the world.
Nice.
I'd say more than anything, it's super clunky. The movement is super clunky in the game, not fluid at all.
And the jump, have we done any work on the jump lately?
Yeah, actually. So again, we also redid the jump, and that was largely because we have lots of jumping puzzles in the game. The world designers like to add lots of verticality, as mentioned, and so there's lots of climbing, and there's lots of like jumping on this narrow ledge sort of gameplay. And so we wanted to improve the jump, give it a little more control in the air to help out there.
And last but not least, what about water? What happens when you hit water?
Yeah, so water, the expectation is that you either swim, or float. You don't sink, right? So in Eternum, you also float, but you can also swim. So, and that is a new feature that we just added for this new launch.
Awesome.
We're $70.
And Dave, I know you've been spending a lot of time on how it feels to play with a control in your hand. So how's
I don't think these guys have realized it, but swimming is just a meme. Like, if you're going to do it, you better do it meaningfully. Like, it better have something tied to it. Like, is it just like, I hinted on this or touched on this on the last video. If you're swimming, like, there's not really many places to do it in the mainland. There's not, like rivers and lakes and things to, there's typically they're just like little streams to go across. Like, you can't get like, if you were to put rafts in the game or something, where you can put them out on the outskirts, just going around the island, I'll swim away from Eternum. Please. But I mean, yeah, it's like, this is just a meme, so they put dev time into doing it. So it's good, it's there now, finally. But how much did this really matter? I guess you can skip some parts now. You can go down to like Cutlass Keys and go from island to island and just swim instead of having to run around and find a bridge or something. That's cool, I guess.
How's it feeling?
It's great. It's great. It feels very natural, super smooth. It's a bit of a challenge. There's just the sheer number of.
So I forget where, I don't want to like watch this whole thing again, but they talk about the controller and he says, oh, there's a lock-on feature now. And the guy goes, oh, but it locks onto the chest. I'm like, okay, wait a second here. If this thing has predictive firing, meaning it predicts based on when someone's running where to fire, there'd be no reason not to ever lock on with a controller. Because let's say if you're playing bow or gun, who cares if you're not getting the headshot? Just shooting them. You know how hard it is to hit somebody with a charged shot with a bow? Like if they're running or something, like, because you got to calculate the drop, you got to calculate the distance, you got to calculate the speed of the arrow. And I'm not saying whip out a calculator and do this. I'm saying like you have to kind of like in your mind think about it. And when you do hit with it, it's like crap damage. So like, what's the point? All your damage comes from your abilities. And that tells me right there's a big problem with the way your bow works. It should be that most of the damage comes from not the abilities, but from hitting your shots. And then just because it takes a decent amount of time to pull that thing back and to get a charged shot off. And I think that's where the bulk of the damage should be coming in. And then abilities obviously should be doing pretty good damage, but not what they're doing right now. The scales are flipped, in other words. I think it should be kind of the opposite of what it is, as it is currently. So anyway, that's basically what they talk about with the controller. Good, you can use a controller now. Let's hope it's not the age-old issue we've had with the auto-aim versus the on controller versus the no auto-aim on mouse and keyboard. Whereas the auto-aim is so good. Like this happened in, I think, both the Halos, the Halo 5 and then Halo Infinite, and the Master Chief Collection. That even streamers or people that played Halo for on mouse and keyboard primarily were going to controller. Because it was the better way to play, because it was so much easier to hit people. And that's just bull, dude. This is, man, these guys. So, anyway,
things that you can.
Let's skip ahead here. I'm just going to skip this whole section. There should be
that to harvest herbs nearby. The whole world, it's this kind of place where everything there is ripe for the taking, and you use it. And as you cut plants and cook things.
I want to reiterate, that's all there is to do. At the end game, you are literally, if you were to cap your trade skills, and then it's pretty much just stocking up at that point, and then using it for whatever. I forget if there's daily stuff, but doing daily stuff or something like that, and just accruing. And once again, none of this is instanced. So if you go down to, I forget what the wood area is called, but one of the zones is there's a ton of ironwood. Ironwood is a substance that's the late game. It's the highest quality wood, if I remember right. And is that right? Is there a wood after that they had in the expansion? I think there was. Anyway, whatever. Ironwood, very, very difficult to obtain. Well, if somebody has gone through and farmed all this stuff already, well, you're SOL. You're gonna have to find some other alternative locations. So you know what? It turns into porting around, hoping to find a spot nobody's got to yet, or get it on the respawn. And half the time you get there, there's some Korean named person. No offense to Koreans, but that's typically a bot, and they're just sitting there waiting. Doing a loop or something, just killing things around the area and harvesting stupid little stuff. And then as soon as the trees spawn, you see them run to the tree location and then to the next one. And if it's not there, that's how you know they're a bot. They'll stop and then they'll beeline to the next spot, next ironwood location, and then so on and so forth. It's pretty easy to tell, but it's a horrible system. It's the idea they had, I think, was they wanted people to PvP for the stuff, but nobody was doing it, because if I don't turn on PvP, you can't touch me. I can get to the node, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. It's my node now. So what's the point? This is why they need to change it to an instant system for PvE. And I'd say keep it the way it is for PvP and let people fight over it. I think that'd be great. But and then I guess you keep it instance for the PvE. So if a PvE person grabbed it, it would still be there if you're PvP flagged, or even if you're PvE for that matter, right? Until you grabbed it. So you're not wasting hours going from spot to spot to spot trying to find, ironwood or whatever it may be.
Things, your cooking skill goes up, your harvesting skill goes up. It's just kind of addicting all by itself, and you frequently just forget.
I won't lie. It is addicting at first, all this gathering and seeing progression going up, but it gets old. Trust me.
Get that you're questing, and you spend an hour and just it's great.
One of my favorite is when you chop down a tree, right? Like, I love going into an area and seeing someone have deforested the whole place.
That loud, echoey, it's great.
So Patrick, why don't you give us an overview of our trade skills? Like, what types are?
As you progress through the world, so too does the items that you're gathering. So goods for the crafting portion, which is the third pillar here. That's the actual crafting part of trade. Badass, but pretty badass gear that's going to really carry you throughout those levels and make you much more powerful. So it's super.
Wrong. You don't want to ever craft anything at low levels, unless you're just upping your armor or your smithing skills. There's zero reason to craft gear for yourself. It will be outdated. It's like just about every MMO is the same. You never buy gear unless it's required to get into something. I don't know why you do that at a low level. You just keep questing and you'll get better gear. That's the way it works. So until in-game, like crafting, because you can make BIS pieces in-game, but it's super costly. I can't remember what the cost, like what exactly the reagents were, but I just remember it being super costly, which makes sense. If you're going to make a BIS piece of gear, it should be pretty costly, but maybe too much.
Exciting. It's one of my favorite parts of our game.
Yeah, and one of the great things in New World Eternum is there's a trading post, right? So like when you make this stuff, then you can sell it to other players, or players can buy it for you, and it creates this sort of player-driven economy, which is really cool.
Just key to the game too. Like our player-driven economy, I think, is one of the things that really sets us out on the market. And makes New World Eternum just so unique.
No, it doesn't. The economy is horrible. I already talked about this yesterday in that video, talking about how when you own the territory owners get a freebie, basically. As long as they have the territory, you kick back and make money. Not doing anything, just defending your territory, that's about it. Once you have it, you just sit back, get free money, and then you can just buy stuff. You could buy your way to trade skill 250, or keep going, get aptitude for it. There's money rules everything, and I think it's too easy to come by when you're a territory owner. That needs to change. So don't tell me the economy is one of your best features of the game. It really is not. And then what other things? I forget what happened. They had the bananas came out in the last in the expansion. It's something new for cooking, and the price of wood dropped to lower than 1 cent a piece per piece. So it's like it costs more to post it in the auction house than it did to just throw it away. Even and same thing for charcoal, which you make out of wood. It's like it was just pointless to do either one.
So you can find your niche in that world as that crafter and make a ton of coin and become a very powerful person on your realm by going about and crafting.
Awesome. Well, those are sort of some of the core trade skill. Any other ones you want to talk about, Dan, and highlight?
Yeah, I mean, the system lets us do other cool stuff that's like we have musical instruments. You get a fishing pole, and there's all these beautiful bodies of water, and the graphics.
Fishing, horribly done again. So in this game, they have fixed locations that do spawn and despawn once used enough. So, but it's always in the same spot. So once you discover it, it'll be on your map, and everyone that's discovered for that matter. So everyone knows where they are. It's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. That is not fun. So I know, the tier 3 spots are here, here, and here. Why would I ever go to a tier 1 or 2 spot? Why would you do that? You wouldn't. Any player in their right mind wouldn't do that. It makes no sense to do that. So everyone's just going to go to the tier 3 spots. So the tier 3s are always constantly farmed. So here's how I'd do it. So let's say right here, I don't see any spots here, and they call it secret fishing spots when they're not secret at all. You discover it, and it's not a secret. It's not a secret for anyone now. All the New World maps on third-party sites know about it. It's like, what a stupid thing to name it. It should be fishing hole, whatever, Morningdale, whatever. I'd say, okay, what I'd do is in this stream, let's say one spawned here. It's there, and it progressively gets better and better stuff in it the longer it's there. What this does, and I'm not saying just here always, I'm saying randomly spawns here. So let's say upstream 100 feet, and in a day this spawns up there, or something like that. They just have them spawn all over the world, only so many at a time, and just as soon as one despawns, have another one start to spawn somewhere else, and it could be a whole different zone for that matter. But the idea is you want players to explore. You want them to be in your world, experiencing your world. So if you do this in the right way, in a random location, constantly, the players can be running up and down streams looking for a fishing location, and if no one had gotten to it for quite a while, now they get a lot of good stuff out of it. That's how you do fishing, not the way New World's currently doing it.
Amazing. So the sun's setting over the water and you're fishing. It's just it's wonderful. There's riding. So you get your mount, and the more you ride your mount and the more activities you do with your mount, your riding skill increases, which gives you speed and other power.
Okay, this is kind of stupid too. Don't listen to what this guy's saying. Yes, it's true. You see up here, this is the race this guy's doing. And then there's once you complete all these things, you are capped out. You can't find mounts in the world. You'll get the first mount. Maybe you don't find them technically. There's a quest to get them, but you don't get one horse. Like say if you're playing V Rising and you get a horse and it's it has varied stats. It's not always, they're not all the same. In this game, if you were to do that, I think Black Desert Online does that, it's probably not a good idea because of PvP reasons, but once you get your riding skill maxed, there's no more riding skill. There's no more races. They're not repeatable. There's no little events to do for riding. It was a horribly underbaked system. It's just It's part of their theme park logic, do this thing, and then once it's done, it's over forever. It's like you can't keep a game, especially an MMO, going with that logic. You have to have cyclical systems. You have to have things people want to constantly do, and that carrot needs to be good for those systems as well.
Power-ups.
And then we're going to be talking a little more about endgame, but this crafting loop also plays into the endgame a little bit, doesn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, crafting's massive with our endgame. We'll talk more about that later, but crafting, level 250.
Skip.
Then soul trials are going to be really exciting for you. That's your opportunity to fight one-on-one with
it keeps you busy. It's super fun.
It's hard to stay on track.
Yeah, really.
combat, and soul trials are where you get to put some of that combat to work. So what is a soul trial exactly? Well, if you like to play solo more by yourself than in any of our team fights, then soul trials are going to be really exciting for you. That's your opportunity to fight one-on-one with combatants in New World, and it's also a really good opportunity to showcase some of the Eternum story. So I'm here with Rob, who's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, what's so cool is, when we first started this, we were only able to do a couple of these, but now we've got them in almost all the big moments of the story have these great climactic fights where oftentimes you're facing up against characters you've met somewhere else in the world, and now you're having this showdown with them in this awesome instance, and they've got all these special moves, and there's a lot of challenge in the fight, and it's kind of cool because it's something that I haven't seen done in an MMO before.
Yeah, and it takes you to a lot of different worlds. You get to go into the world of corruption, you get some heartbreaking moments, and a lot of different environments. There's a lot of artistic storytelling too.
For sure. These are kind of like capstone spaces, I think, too, visually, because it's a very controlled space. You're going into this basically like one-on-one arena against whatever the bad is.
Soul Trials were all right. But yeah, they're single player content, so I wouldn't push this type of content, I think single player stuff, I guess it's fine to a degree, but in an MMO, you don't want that. You don't want to focus on single player, because you make it too single player, then people just okay, what's the point of playing if I'm just by myself all the time? And then they quit, and pretty soon more people feel the same way, and then nobody plays your game like where we're at now with New World. You want people to be in group stuff. You want to make group stuff accessible, but you need to do it in a way that's I don't know. I'm not totally against the Dungeon Finder or the Raid Finder. People used to say, "Oh, it's so much better back in the day." It's no, I think I like it better. I like clicking a button and just going. If I want to do a dungeon, I don't want to wait an hour. And the older I get, the more I think about time and how important time is. I don't want to wait an hour to get a group together for one guy to be a total noob and not know what he's doing. It's hey, you got to do this. I know what I'm doing, and then you get one of those guys, and it's just a waste of time. Just, if you get a baddie or someone that's, not helping or AFK, you kick them. That's all. It's so simple. Like if you're playing Warcraft. In this game, it's kind of the same way. I think you can kick. I'm not sure. I forget. But yeah, you can't teleport in or out of dungeons. The whole system's it's just a mess. All these other games they could have looked at and said, okay, we need to have this, we need to have this, we need to have this. It's like they didn't do it. They didn't look at anything else when they made their game. And now they're out of that teething phase and oh, whoa, we're missing a lot of QOL. Yeah. You think?
It is that you're facing, and I think we tried to really make them visually be that capstone as well. We really want to ratchet up that drama so it feels like this climactic moment that you have to deal with in the story, and then you progress on to the open world and do other things. But I think they got a lot of extra attention visually.
And it's super exciting too now that they are repeatable at endgame. You could play these things as many times as you like, which I think was something that we really wanted, since so much attention was put into making these fights interesting.
Yeah, it's not bad. Having them repeatable. It's something that I know people are asking about it on the Discord, and I agree. Yeah, they put a lot of dev time into these things, and they were part of their theme park experience. It was a one and done, and that's it.
To be able to replay them and kind of perfect your approach, I guess, strategically.
Yeah. even back to some of the ones that players may have missed. So if you're just joining us now and you didn't get a chance in some of the earlier seasons, some of the temporary trials are going to be coming back. So whether you're a new or returning player, you're going to get a chance to play all of those unique fights that we have to offer.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the end game and some of the rewards you'll get from this Soul Trials?
Yes, so Soul Trials are a really good chance to play a solo gameplay. You've got your expeditions and team fights, but you've also got really great gameplay just on your own. And you can still get all of the great loot that you can get in all of the group and team content. You can still get some great loot in the solo content. And as far as endgame goes, we're going to...
Now, here's a good question. Should the loot be as good from solo as what drops in group? I don't think so. It's kind of like going to a raid finder and the gear being just as good, if not better, than the raid, like a 10-man raid, say in Warcraft. That shouldn't be the case. Raid finder is pretty much a face roll. I mean, you gotta gear it right, but you also don't want to drop stuff too low or too bad, because no one will ever do it. So, it's a balancing act.
We're going to hand that off to the next group to talk about that.
Patrick, why don't you kick us off with what is endgame?
Yeah, so in New World, when you've reached level 65 and completed your main story quest, you enter the part of the game we call endgame. At this point, you're starting to chase higher gear score, go and conquer different challenges, harder content, and that's when the game really starts to open up to like a broad variety of activities.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, because the story is a little bit more linear. You follow a set path, but when you hit endgame, like the choices are so vast.
Absolutely.
So Dan, why don't you talk a little bit about some of those early choices? So I just entered early endgame. What are some things I might be doing?
Yeah, I would say so. The game kind of starts to open up a little bit just before you hit max. So like you'll get access to Outpost Rush. You'll get access to arenas.
What is Outpost Rush for new players?
Sure, Outpost Rush is so we have a few kind of instanced game modes on offer, both PvE and.
It's this map is the one map they've had for 3 years, and people have been asking for another map for probably since the beginning.
PvP. Crazy. Outpost Rush is a PvP 20v20.
It's kind of interesting though if you're not familiar with it. Outpost Rush is a semi-building, so like there's ore over here, you can kind of see it, or maybe that's a dude, but there's ore over here that goes over here, and you farm the ore. There's little like Azoth trees to farm, and there's wolves to kill throughout the map. You do that stuff, you bring it to the fort, you can upgrade the fort, you can put doors on. You can make these things siege machinery. They're pretty much garbage. Like hardly anyone ever uses this stuff because it's so difficult to hit somebody with the gallon gun. This thing is just about useless. It pours oil and fire down, and I'd say it should affect this entire area. It should cut this whole area off, in my opinion. But I think it's just like this little area right here by the entrance. Not worth it. Not worth the materials. But I mean, if you're upgrading everything else, or you have everything else upgraded, you might as well.
Kind of like capture the point in battle game mode. It's pretty cool. Then we have arenas, which that's 3v3 PvP. I mean, but like a lot of it's a lot more organic than just the instant stuff, obviously. So like, one of the things that I know I like to do is like once you kind of get to max level, then you kind of start focusing on your skills. We have, gosh, I don't even know how many trade skills we have. You can max all those out. You can do musical performances and max those out. Yeah. Fishing, you can go around the world and do elite chest runs. You can do portals.
No. Oh, Lord, no. Elite chest runs. These guys are so stupid. This team is so stupid. So, history. Elite chest runs. What are they? They are going from one elite area to the next, and typically it's like a 2+ hour process. And what happens is you zerg, so it can be your faction. It's typically unflagged, so it's every faction or whoever. They pick a certain time of day, and then they dig. The next 2-3 hours, they go around from point A to point F, however many elite chest areas there are. And they zerg all the content. Now keep in mind, these areas were designed for small 5v5 type skirmishes in the beginning. And there we had that for a while. And it was pretty high tuned. Like 10 was probably the better number to bring in there. But it was, people found like, well, you don't get anything less if, depending on the amount of people. You could have 1,000 people in there and it doesn't matter. You're getting the same loot that you would for 5 or 10, which is retarded on Amazon's part. Like, why did you, like, I swear, they just do not think when they do things. So, and beyond that, these aren't instanced areas. These are out in the world. So, like, someone, and then there's people that will go in these areas, and they know how to exploit the mobs, and they'll either farm the chest solo, or they'll farm all the high, or, you know, like, they'll go over to, I forget that place is called in, what is it called, in Shattered Mountain? Oh, Mines. Yeah, it's called something Mines. Shattered something Mines. Anyway, they'll go up. There's a ton of Orichalcomore. And so they'll abuse the mobs or stun them or whatever and mine the ore real quick and then, you know, reset. Just jump on top of something where the mobs can get you. The mobs run off and reset. I think to stop that is program the mobs so they can climb. So they can clamber, so they can follow the player. I mean, it's kind of stupid because these are elite mobs too. It's not like, you know, you can just kill them super easy. So, I mean, yeah, so it just gets exploited. People are doing things they shouldn't be able to do because Amazon just poorly developed the area. But, you know, elite chest runs, I got a big gripe with these things because it's, instead of content that could be for groups or pushing for group content, I guess you could say a Zerg is a group, but that's kind of a stupid way of looking at it, truthfully. When I say group, I mean like 5-man, 10-man, you know, make it digestible content. They have content here in these elite zones that they could have for another 5-man instance or something else opposed to doing dungeons or expeditions. But instead they said, you know, I remember Scott was talking about it years ago, and he says, yeah, it's cool, we were on this epic chest, what do they call it? ETC? Epic chest? ECR. Epic chest run. Or elite chest run, whatever, however you want to say it. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I was like, no, Scott, it's not cool. You idiots. Like, you don't realize what you've done. You created these areas that people put bosses in, and obviously the bosses are like all tank and spank for the most part. But, you know, it just gets rolled over. And you're okay with it. Like, I would have put a stop to that a long time ago. I said, okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to instance this stuff, and we're going to make it 5-man content. So it's an alternative, or maybe 10-man content, you know, make it a mini raid or something. I don't know. But no, anyway, sorry, that's a pet peeve of mine. I hate ECR so much. Such a waste of time. And it's unearned loot. It's literally unearned loot. You didn't do a damn thing to get that loot. All you did is follow everyone else and press E on the boxes. That's it. You maybe cast a spell here or there, but there's 1,000 people hitting the mobs. So they die in a second anyway. It's so stupid.
And what are portals? Because portals are fun if you're new to the game.
Yeah, so portals are...
Portals, sorry. Terrible. Portals will stay up. They don't really have any effect, it seems, on the zone whatsoever. You know, if it were me, I would tie these in somehow to maybe a small invasion that happens. If there's too many portals in the zone and nobody does anything about them, a small invasion happens, or maybe a POI gets taken over by the corrupted, and you got to take it back, and you get a bonus reward or something for taking it back, or maybe you don't want it to happen. Maybe you get negative rewards or something, and you know pretty soon all the POIs are corrupted, and you can't. Or maybe you earn less or something from your settle. I don't know. If I had time and the money and someone paying me to do this, to think it up, I could think it up. I could think of a better system for this. But right now, the portals, here's how it goes. Once again, you zerg it. Just like every other piece of freaking content in this game. You get as many people as you can together, say, doing portal run, and you hit every single, I think it's level 65 portals. They're the highest ones. They're like 65 elite portals, because they drop the best gear. Or they will drop the only gear that is relevant to you at max level. So what you do is get all those people together, you go hit every single one, you just tell your group what, you know, where to teleport to each time, and you knock out everything on the entire Eterna map. And that's it. That's doing portals. It's a horribly designed system, again, and it needs a rework. Actually, when the game first released, it was the de facto way to level. You got more XP doing portals than you did actually playing the game the way that it was supposed to be designed. Insane.
They're kind of cool because you see them in early game, like the world just kind of turns red and tries to kill you all of a sudden. Then
no, it doesn't. It doesn't turn red and try and kill you. That's only if it spawns on top of you. These things are in set locations and pretty much spawn the same area no matter what. So the player's just going to you'll see him. You'll see him on the map, you'll see him in front of you, and if you don't want to fight it, you just avoid it. It's pretty simple. So they're trying to make it sound like it's this really cool thing that just happens organically. It doesn't. It's static.
And later when you're super powerful, you can come back to these random kind of like throughout the world, the kind of corruption takes over and starts to, invade your reality. And you can take them on solo, you can try, or you can get a group and go in and farm them out for resources.
No. So he's trying to think of something to say there. So what I just said is what they should be doing. But he says, they invade your reality. No, they just take up a spot on the map and sit there all day long. And nobody, except for maybe a low level, touches the lower level ones because there's no point.
Cool gear.
Yeah, what I like about that is there's something for everyone, right? If you're a total solo player, you got soul trials. If you want to play with big groups, you got things like invasions. If you want to play with small
invasions, oh boy, so boring. So if you've never done an invasion before, what you basically do is there's 3 doors in the front of the fort, and then there's 2 in the back. And what happens is you want a group on each one of those, and you want floating groups to go in between and help here and there, because there will be mobs that spawn. And back in the day, these were impossible. Day 1, it was they didn't tune, because nothing in this game scaled. It's all at a set level. So day 1, the max level people got was level 50 when the first invasion happened, and all the mobs are level 60 elites. Got stomped. It's what were you guys thinking? Why not just have it scale to the level of the players like an average? But then guess what? If they did that, people would abuse it. You can't win. Here's what I guess you could do. Scale everyone to 60. You're level 1, scale him to 60. And he gets XP for doing it and rewards. Now your level 1s can join in too. Scaling is a great thing. I don't think it's used pretty much at all in New World. Very sad. But invasions, waste of time. They're so boring. It's not even funny.
Smaller group, you didn't mention much about the expeditions, our dungeon-like experiences.
Yeah, that's another good example of you start experiencing those through leveling, and then when you get to...
Oh, one other thing too. Invasions aren't organic. They don't just kind of happen after there's so much corruption has happened in a zone. Let's say, I don't know if it's based on the portals or if it's based on just a timer. But at some point, an invasion will say, an invasion will happen, but it's not it doesn't just happen right then. It'll say, invasion happening 2 days from now. And I was that's nice. The corrupt decided to schedule with us when they're going to attack us. Okay, so let's get all our best people together in, 2.5 days at 5 o'clock. Yeah, we can do that corrupted. We'll be there. How stupid. What a bad mechanic. I would say they be more organic. They just happen non-instanced in the world, because they are instanced, by the way. And when they do happen, if you lose the invasion and they attack your town hall too much or something, then you lose 1, 2, or 3, maybe 3 levels randomly of different trade stations. That'd be all right, I guess. Well, that's just off the top of my head. That's already 100% better than the current system.
To max level, then they all become available.
Nice. So,
one more thing too. In the invasions, the mobs can't be tanked. So if you're a tank, you better put on your DPS gear, because you can't do anything as a tank. You can maybe get taunt bonuses, but the creatures will not look at you. Maybe the little ones. I can't remember if the little ones will. I don't think they do. But taunting just doesn't work. So once again, what's the point? Why even have it? It's just makes your tanks useless. It's these guys.
So let's say I've been playing a little bit now, Patrick, and I'm nearing more of the mid to late end game. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure thing. So kind of going off that PvP, PvE split. As a PvP player, as Dan already mentioned, you have Outpost Rush, which is a great intro. If you want to take that a step further and really hone in on coordination, you hop into our War mode. This is 50 v 50. epic siege of a.
Unless he means actual war. So if there's a war mode PvP variant now, that's cool. That's something we didn't have. I guess they're not going to have until October 15th this year. So you're going to have to wait for it. But yeah, it's a mode pretty much no one ever got to experience. I mean, I got in it on the first one way back when the game first started, and I think that was the only war I ever participated in, because it would always be the same 50 people, because these are the most decked out people. And they're, what do you know, people that belong to guilds that were in control of major hub areas that had all the damn money. Wow, they got the best gear. How'd that happen? I wonder. So in other words, and back then it was a mercenary system basically, so it was always the same 50 people every time. So, like, good luck ever playing a war. And even still, I think 99% of people probably say they've never played in a war before. And it's not like it's something simple where, oh, you just fight this point, this point, this point. No, you can have people backdooring, putting bombs on your doors. You can have, there's a bunch of other, you can have them putting down siege stuff, blowing up your doors from the side. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen. And what I hate so much about the combat in this game is it's total Zerg mentality. It's whoever hits harder with their left mouse button spam, or whoever can heal more spam heal more, and just it's just beat your face against it's two unstoppable forces hitting each other, and with the immovable object, which is the healing, and then whoever, like, maybe if one side, like if you have a team of 5 come up behind the healers and beat them down, like, I don't know, it's just, I don't like that type of combat. I think it should be more methodical. I think it should be like, a cat and mouse, like I was saying yesterday with the chivalry, where I attack and you block, and now you have initiative. You attack and I have to block. If I don't block, I get a micro stun. And then, like I said too yesterday, like, it could be and you have what do you call that? Diminishing returns every, like, 3 hits or something. If you get microstun 3 times, you can dodge again or block again or something. So in other words, you're punished. So you're punished for your play, and then healing would have to be less. I mean, the game would have to go through a full rework. Like, healing is just out of control in this game, and it's more than anything, it's the sacred ground. It's the new, like, I'll tell you what, take Sacred Ground out of the game for 1 month, and people would be livid. They'd be, this game is impossible. You cannot play this game. Sacred Ground is the most OP ability in the entire game. It ticks for so much, and you just sit in it and for free. You can, all you gotta do is stay in one spot, instead of having to move around, or, I would rather more emphasis be put on the actual casting abilities, like the Light's Embrace, or the, these are targeted abilities. Sacred Ground, you can have your whole team set it and just wail on things and for free, basically. It's a noob ability. I think it just needs a rework.
Fort, and offers pretty great reward.
There it is. That's Sacred Ground right there.
Rewards.
And since it has red ring around it, that is an enemy Sacred Ground to this character, whoever's playing this character from this perspective.
Other options for PvP players include the reward track. So all of the PvP you're doing gives you a PvP experience, which leads me to the PvP reward track, which has awesome rewards on it. Great opportunity to get gear up to gear score 700, some unique artifacts. And then on the PvP...
So that fight right there is a good example of what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter who's attacking. Whoever can hit harder or hits harder will come out on top in a LMB spam fight.
East side of things, we have...
It's bad combat, bad gameplay.
Mutated expeditions. So those, the dungeon-like experience we just talked about. There's harder variants of that, so M1, M2, and M3. With M3 offering the very best gear for those experiences up to gear score 695 to 700. Really great opportunity to coordinate with a small group of people and take on a pretty difficult challenge as those change week to week. Other big opportunity there for the PvE side is the raid. So yeah, introducing New World's first linear raid, so 3 bosses, each boss progressively harder than the last, and they require pretty elaborate teamwork from a group of 10 players to get the highest gear score gear in the game, capping out at gear score 725. So the raid is a super unique experience.
I want to say that's higher? Was it gear score 700? I don't know. Well, we stopped that. I have no idea.
And I'm beyond excited for players to hop into that one.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah.
What about on the PvP?
So here's something that like we've seen before, like in Warcraft and other games. I would say for these raids, you need to have gear sets. So the gear bonuses for having 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of a set, something like that. You know, because here's what it's going to be. It's going to be named gear. The same crap we've been seeing for the last 2 years probably. I don't know. I forget when they introduced names. Maybe they're from the beginning. But the same stuff, and I would really say an infusion system too, having like it from Destiny. Let me infuse like gear. You know, if I get a legendary, let me infuse a higher level legendary into it, so I can keep the perks that I want on the other one.
Side, anything new else that you want to mention?
There is a free-for-all area coming for the PvP experience, so this will be an opportunity to hop into this as a.
That's going to be interesting to watch, but from what I know,
as a one.
Let's let him talk about it.
One-off player, it's very different from anything we've built in New World. This experience allows you to go kill other players, loot chests, kill enemies, and get what we call mystic doubloons out of it. Taking those doubloons to a shop lets you buy some of the best gear in the game, and it's a really thrilling experience, gets the heart going, and I'm really excited to see.
So, I don't know, I'm not sure if he said it or not. I'm pretty sure this is a free-for-all area. So, I'm not sure how I feel about a PvP area just being a free-for-all. I think it's kind of stupid, but we'll see how it pans out.
See how players like it.
Yeah, I think it's fun whether you want to be a killer and look for people, and also I'm more of like a gatherer. I love going around trying to get all the chests or gather stuff and then run out before someone gets me.
Yeah, and I love to kill the people doing exactly that, so it's super fun.
It kills me a lot. So Dan, I'm a new player. So much fun stuff to do. Is there any way to sort of help me find all this fun stuff?
Absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of these, you can access these from the map as you explore through the leveling experience, but then also from the menu, there's a screen called Activity Finder, which kind of like, it's a one-stop shop for all these activity types, and it gives you access to the matchmaking pool, which, we have a few different varieties of how you can matchmake, including just like a, click, and then it enters the system and finds you a group to play with.
Yeah, and now we have some actual matchmaking in some of the modes, like in arenas, which I think will be big.
Yeah, it definitely is going to help a lot, make sure that the game is like kind of at your right challenge level.
So
I think they're saying it incorrectly. They're talking about matchmaking. I think they're talking about the background system. What do they call that? MMR? It's like, I forget what it stands for. Basically, it's rated. So you have like a hidden rating to yourself. So in other words, you're not getting put together against like, people that are way above you. That's the better way to do it. And I forget, somebody said this recently too. They said they found better player retention when the matches were more fair. It's like, no, in SS. All I gotta say to that.
What if I'm like not into all this power progression and up-leveling my gear? Is there anything for me to do in the endgame, Patrick?
So everyone knows the most important endgame feature is fashion. So there's transmog. There's thousands of appearances in New World that I can go chase. When I get an item, I unlock that appearance in my collection, and then I can transmog that appearance into a wearable piece of armor.
And 99% of them are garbage too. The best ones are saved for the store.
That I can slot onto any piece of gear I have.
That's just a coincidence though.
Have equipped. So if I really like this cool eye patch I find, I can transmog that and change any helmet I have into that cool eye patch. The other side of things is housing.
Oh yeah, it costs tokens too. I forgot about that. So you have to have transmog tokens to unlock a. So you better be careful. You better make sure it's the one you want, because if you want, if you only have 4 tokens and you have 5 items you want to transmog, well, you're gonna have to do epic chest runs or elite chest runs, or I think you can get them, and I think it's like 1 weekly or something. It's just ridiculous. Like they limit it, so they want to try and keep their attention there. Like, we all know, we all see what they're doing.
Housing in New World is pretty robust, and we have a lot of really rare housing items, such as
Okay, no, housing is not robust. Well, I guess it is. If you want to decorate your house, yes, it is. It is pretty robust. But what does it do? Why would you want to have a house is the better question. So there's storage, which is the main thing, because storage is just ridiculous. It's a micromanaged, like that. It's a mini game in itself, playing the storage game. And then beyond storage is these trophies. So trophies are something that you can either get the bloody ones just from killing enemies of whatever faction, and they're like the weakest trophies. And what do trophies do? Trophies give you either more damage to certain races. They give you bonuses, like, for crafting. So let's say if you want to craft a BIS piece of armor, you need to have an armoring trophy in all 3 of your houses at the max level. So I think it's like +2 or 5, or I think it's +5 for each one. So you should have +15. If you don't have the max one in each house, you cannot make a BIS piece of highest GS gear. So it can be pretty costly. That's the first, and that's the only thing you should really worry about in your house is trophies. Now, here's the thing for the ones that allow you to do more damage to enemies. To get the last reagents to finish these off in their final version, you have to go to certain mobs that spawn in the same spot on the map. It's not, you don't just, okay, well, I'll get to that. And you have to kill these things 300 times a piece. And they're about 6-minute spawns. So you'd have to sit there, whatever 300 is times 6 minutes, however much time that is, to get one of the legendary trophies for that race. Okay. AGS, you guys, once again, are complete idiots. So here's how you do this. Here's how you fix it. You put these reagents on every single mob. Lower chance, like 1% chance killing regular mobs, or maybe less, I don't know. For like, we're talking like non-elites, like non-elite regular mobs, especially low levels. Maybe only have them drop at levels, I don't know, 50 and up or something. I would say any level, but I would just lower the chance. I think any level is better. It's more fair. That means you can go to other zones and just, because you don't want to like herd people just to these certain areas, the 50 and up zones. Maybe someone's doing something down in the lower zones, whatever it may be. So I think it's good to promote exploration everywhere on the map rather than just 3 areas of the map. So you would do, let's say if you're in what's a starting area? Well, Monarch's Bluff. That's one I couldn't think of yesterday. You're in Monarch's Bluff. It's like a 1 to 25 zone. So I'd say if you're killing a level 1, it'd be like a 0.001 chance of getting the item. Or, something like that. Look, this is all stuff on the back end when they program it in. It's all numbers that are easily changeable. So this should be very simple to play with. But you want it to feel at a natural, organic rate where if people do harder content, if they're doing dungeons like tier 3 mutated level 3 dungeons and fighting these mobs, they should have a higher chance of getting these items, period. You reward them for the difficulty of what they're doing. If I want to sit in a level 1 to 25 zone and beat down Lost all day long with a 0.001 chance of doing it, I should be able to do it. But, I mean, it's to sit in one spot 300 times for 6 minutes between spawns. You're stupid, Amazon. I'm sorry. You are just stupid. Whoever thought this up, you are stupid. That's not how you design it at all. It just makes people go crazy. It's really what it does. But anyway, that we were on housing. Yes, housing is, if you like housing, you're probably going to like New World's housing because it does have a lot of versatility in it. But mainly it's all about chests and the trophies.
The Goldfish Bowl that you can go find throughout the world. And if you find those, they're awesome collector's items. They sell for a ton of coin, and they're pretty prestigious items to find. So go and hunt down that cool fashion, that cool housing items. And it's an awesome solo end game right there.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks for joining me to talk about the end game. I really love this part about New World of Tournaments, where the game opens up. You sort of get to find your own path. What do you like to do? I think there's something for everyone to enjoy here.
I think the next part, they're just talking about the technical side of it. It doesn't matter. I think we've said enough. This was a bust. New World did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They always do this. Oh, we can't talk about our announcement. It's so crazy for the last 2-3 months saying that, oh, we can't, it's too big to talk about. And what are they actually getting in New World? They're getting a PvP island that's free for all. They're getting a console release, big whoop-dee, and they're charging full price, $60 for the regular, $80 for the deluxe, which is just getting you some skins. What else is coming? Some QOL, a raid, so that's good. But not much. You're not getting much. And I tried saying this in one of my other videos, talking about this, and for what you're like, it was for the Rise of the Angry Earth. You know, for what you're paying for that, it was like $40, $30 or $40, and compared to what you get like for paying $50 or $60 for a Warcraft, I think it's $50 for the newest Warcraft expansion. Like, I guarantee you there's going to be like 4 or 5 different zones that are massive in the Warcraft expansion. Tons more content than you get in a New World. Like, I just don't and they probably have a bigger team, but it doesn't matter. The price is what matters. Like, it's reflective it's supposed to be reflective of the content, and it's just not there. So, shame on New World. They did exactly what I thought they'd do. It's very lackluster as usual. It's what you can expect from this company. When they say they're going to do this new thing, you know, don't get ideas in your head like I used to, where, oh, it's going to be this, oh, it's going to have this, and you know, you're just going to let yourself down because it's going to get to the announcement or get to the day when it comes out and you go like, oh, this is it. This is all we got. I mean, that's how I felt after playing the Elysian Wilds or the expansion. This is it. All we got. Nothing here. Anyway, y'all have a good one, and if you haven't done so already, find Christ before it's too late. Cheers.